Merhabalar, ben Ümit Mesci, İstanbul Modern'de küratörüm. Bugün size Müzeler Konuşuyor, Konuğumuz Hollanda programının dördüncü konuşmacısını ağırlıyoruz. Bugün Eye Filmmuseum Direktörü Bregtje Haak bizimle birlikte. Daha önceki konuşmaları bu arada YouTube kanalımıza yükledik, oradan takip edebilirsiniz. Ve programı muhtemelen 2 konuşmayla daha devam edeceğiz. Onunla ilgili de en yakın zamanda size detayları aktaracağız. Müzeler Konuşuyor'la ilgili kısa bilgi vermem gerekirse 2012 yılında başladığımız bir program. Daha önce Amerika, Birleşik Krallık, Almanya, Fransa, İtalya ağırlandı İstanbul Modern'de. Ve daha ileriki yıllarda da farklı ülkelerle ve belki farklı coğrafyalarla programı sürdürmeyi amaçlıyoruz. Konuşmacımızı davet etmeden önce programı birlikte gerçekleştirdiğimiz, onların desteğiyle gerçekleştiriyoruz programı. Hollanda Kraliyeti İstanbul Başkonsolosluğu'ndan kültür ateşisi Jeff de Boyer'i davet etmek istiyorum. Size belki birkaç sözle o da selamlanacaktır. Buyurun.
Hello, good evening everybody. Merhaba. Thank you all for coming, and first of all, I'm really happy to have Bregtje Haak here, coming all over from the Netherlands to give tonight a museum talk, and I'm also really happy and pleased that this is, I believe, already the fourth museum talk we have in collaboration with Istanbul Modern, so many thanks to Çelenk, Atom, Umit. I think it's really great, and I'm looking forward to continue this collaboration. I think the topic of tonight, to talk about film, I think it's really important because film is a powerful way of telling stories, especially nowadays. Look around you, turbulent times, what is happening around the world, conflicts, rapid technical changes, and growing polarization. So the way we need to understand each other truly matters. So we are still looking for connections in all ways. And then I think film remains one of the most powerful art forms of our time. It helps show how we understand the world, but also it encourages reflections on society, and it connects people across cultures like we are here doing tonight. Eye Filmmuseum plays a vital role in bridging this gap, also in the Netherlands, and I hope Bregtje will explain about that later. Preserving film heritage with more than 63,000 titles from all over the world, but especially from the Netherlands. Supporting new voices and experimentation, facilitating global exchange in cinema, and connecting filmmakers, institutions, and audience across borders. So I think to me, Eye shows how an institution can preserve the past while championing the future. A future where cinema is not only and solely entertainment, but also a bridge between cultures and a tool for understanding. So I'm looking forward to hear more about the presentation tonight, Past Forward, by Bregtje Haak. Many thanks.
Sizlere de bir kez daha teşekkür edelim bu akşam geldiğiniz için. Teknik birkaç detay vermem gerekirse yaklaşık 45 dakikalık bir sunum olacak her konferansta olduğu gibi, daha sonra soru cevaplarla devam edeceğiz. Çok teşekkürler. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful introductions and for your invitation to come here and speak about our museum. And also being in Istanbul, a city that presents so many layers and crossings and contradictions. A city that knows how the past always lives inside the present and how the future is always being shaped and negotiated in the now. I think maybe this is also what Jeff referred to a little bit, which is a very relevant fact for our museum. So my name is difficult name to pronounce, but it's Bregtje Haak. I'm director of Eye Filmmuseum in Amsterdam since 23, so almost 3 years now. And before I introduce our museum to you, I would like to introduce myself briefly a little bit. because I come to this museum not as a curator or a manager, but I come from a background of filmmaking. I have been a documentary filmmaker, and for over 25 years I've made many films and television documentaries, mainly in many countries, often in the Middle East, and focusing mainly on the lives of women, on working women, mothers, girls, children in Lebanon, in Saudi Arabia, in Morocco, in many countries. The last project was about Merwit, this woman on the left, and her two sons. She's from Eritrea. The sons were born as twins during the crossing of the Mediterranean, and I've been following them for 7 years. After I finished the first 7-year film, I want to follow them for 21 years, but then Eye Filmmuseum called me, and then we stopped that project for now, but maybe we'll revisit. So I think in those films we mainly looking for what we have in common, not so much for what separates us. I think that would be probably the guiding line in my documentary work. And in 2016 to 18, I was a curator for Palermo in the Palermo Manifesta edition, the roaming biennial. Maybe you have heard about it, and a Dutch public television. I was lucky to be part of a collective of filmmakers and researchers called Backlight. It ran from 2002 till 2022 for 2 decades, so that's quite a long time. And we worked together, always together, with 20 people, talking, researching, traveling, editing, doubting, and trying to look ahead to understand how the world is changing, and producing in total about 500 one-hour documentaries that we call not current affairs, but future affairs. So it's exploration about the changing world around us. So I'm just telling this because I'm bringing, of course, this experience to the Eye Filmmuseum. And I think the essential part of it is that I never worked alone. I always worked in a team, in teams, in collectives, and always in dialogue. And of course that shaped me. And in the current work as director of the Film Museum, when I was asked there 3 years ago, with the intention was that maybe I could open up the eye even more. Both to the world's issues right now and to see how we could make more of a connection between what's going on outside this beautiful white building and what's happening inside, because it's not always evident. It's not always easy, and also to open it up more to audiences that don't dare to go in, because it's a beautiful building. It looks like a temple, but you have to literally climb the stairs. And it doesn't say on the outside what is inside. And for many people, this is not so easy to bridge that gap and to come inside. So that is part of my mission, so to say, or why they asked me to do this. I think this is a good example of what I is doing, opening up. This is a film series in the summer, always outside, at outdoor screenings. We do the programming partially with people from the neighborhood, and it was free, and now it's €5. And I think it was very inspiring to say that here at Istanbul Modern you have your Young Tuesdays, where young people can come in for free. I think, this is very important to think about that. Not everybody can afford it. So also the other part, I think, of my background in documentary filmmaking, transferring to the museum, is that it's not only about aesthetics, about style, and not even only about content, but it is always about encounters through a lens. It's about listening, about proximity, about being present together as human bodies in space, in places where histories, politics, and human lives intersect. That, I think, is what cinema is all about. Togetherness is crucial, always in the making of film, but also in the viewing. Because when a film is finished and screened, it's also through the light and the lens of cinema that we meet again in a physical space like today, listening and looking at the light together. So I thought maybe it would be nice to start with showing you a clip from our collection that I hope will do just that. It's a clip by Jan Scholte, a Dutch rich man, rich from textiles, and he traveled a lot. And he also traveled to Istanbul. So I thought it would be nice to show you this clip, and maybe you recognize this place. It doesn't have sound. He made a 17-minute film, 17-minute film in Istanbul. He was more interested in the image. He was an amateur, but he filmed a lot and he traveled a lot and he really loved doing it. And I think even without sound, it does show you, he made the titles himself. He was really serious about it. And we have a lot of his films in our collection, and every now and then we can restore one, because restoring film is quite expensive. It's a lot of work. But I think you can see, I hope you experience it that way, that it's like a time machine, even without sound. It really, because it moves, it's very different from photography. It brings you back in time. So yeah, this is where we live now. This is what our archive interface looks like, the physical interface that we have in the museum. And I like to title the talk Past Forward, because that is what we try to do at Eye, to be a kind of open living room for film, connecting the past, the present and the future in film programs, exhibitions, events and education workshops. And the goal is always to host meaningful encounters around film today. The basics of the Film Museum, it's located in the north part of Amsterdam, which was for a long time a very, very poor area. At one point even it was, if you measured it as a separate township or town, it had the lowest income of all of the Netherlands. A lot of people are in debt. And now in the past 10 to 20 years, it's really been changing. There's a lot of development, gentrification. I'm sure it's also happening here. Part of that gentrifying effort, let's say, was the building of the Eye Filmmuseum on the shores. They even made additional land. Where the building is right now, there was no land. There was just water, the river. And because the ground is now so expensive, they decided it was more interesting to make new land than to just build on the existing land, so they can do more development on the existing land. It's right behind Central Station. Those of you who have been there, like Müge, you take the ferry. It's quite nice because it's part of the experience, I think. It's a free ferry, fortunately. I hope it will always stay free. And it takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And then you walk to the museum. It's two buildings, two new buildings. The white building that is more well known, this one, it's delivered in 2012. It opened, was a big splash. It was a big success because many more visitors came than was expected, because people were doubting that anyone would take the ferry and go to this poor part of the city to see a movie or a museum, even worse. But it worked. So that my predecessors, they did a really great job, I think. And everyone was very excited about it. The other part is the collection, because the collection was also one of the reasons the museum needed to move, because the collection is growing and growing and growing, and we need to keep it. It has international prestige. Many of the films in that collection are international, and they don't exist anywhere else in the world. So we have the unique celluloid or nitrate copies. So they're not really copies, like the only ones existing. This building has an exhibition space of 1,200 square meters for temporary exhibitions. We do now 2 a year. We used to do 3 per year. There is a permanent exhibition of 800 square meters about the history of film. There are 4 cinemas, a bar, cafe, restaurant, a studio for children, workshops mainly, and families, and a shop. And Eye is always open. It's open 364 days a year from 10 in the morning till midnight. So it's really a huge operation. And we are going to experiment with having Mondays closed like you have here. So we will see how that goes. Then Eye is dedicated to the moving image in all its forms, past, present, and future, as I mentioned. And it's a physical place. We want it to be like a theater where human bodies gather and meet physically and where they experience the same film together in the dark, the phone switched off, which is quite a special experience and becoming more and more rare. So these are some of our film programs that we have had in the past. Now we are having about 6 different major programs per year, and then lots of smaller events and more also co-creation with special groups or with some of the festivals, like the documentary festival, but also Cinema Asia, Cine Dans. They have a kind of co-curation for their festival in Eye Filmmuseum. And that works very well because they also bring their audience, they have their expertise and their special networks. That's quite nice. So I would say that in this way of coming together, like we also do today, the Moving Image Museum is a radical proposition in this time, because it's an antidote to separation in bubbles of parallel realities through social media. It's radical not because it rejects digital technology, not at all, but because it insists on presence and on meeting and on togetherness. And I see that there is, fortunately, a huge interest in analog film culture. It's really growing. It's like vinyl in music. It's especially among young audiences. It's quite popular. And even the new films, the few ones that still appear in copies like 70mm, like Christopher Nolan's films, it's when we do those projections on 70mm, there is a huge interest in that. But people don't want to see the digital version, they want to see the 70mm. Yeah. Lucky for us, because there are only 2 cinemas now in the Netherlands that can show those films that way. So for us, the vision of the living archive means that we actively open not just the museum building, it's the presentation side of what Eye does, but also the collection for screening, but also for research. And this is a little bit more unusual, for remixing and for all kinds of creative reuse by artists and filmmakers. This long history of film that we cherish and we take care of, it allows us to connect current new filmmaking by living makers to film history in a continuous conversation. Of course, in documentary, there is a lot of, actually there is really a trend now in documentary filmmakers working with archives and archival material, but also in fiction, you see more and more the use of existing old images kind of merging in a hybrid with newly generated or shot images. So for us, this is the collection center. It's really, I would say, sometimes people say the white building is the restaurant, but this is the kitchen. This is really where we cook the films, or we keep them cold, rather. It's a big fridge. It's climate controlled, and it has all the cans with mainly celluloid. Of course, films through the 50s, they were mainly made in nitrate, silver nitrate. Many of them were burned because you could get a little bit of silver out of burning a nitrate film, and it was used for stupid things like shoelaces, but that's why we lost a lot of those films. And then many cinemas, but also film archives went up in flames because the nitrate is burns so easily. can even spontaneously inflame. So we cannot keep the nitrate films. We have a huge collection. We have many unique ones, but they are in the dunes, in separate bunkers, because we cannot have them in the city. You can never get a permit because of the fire danger. But here we have a lot of the celluloid and, of course, a lot of the apparatus, as they are called, the old pre-cinema machines, and also the set photos, thousands, hundreds of more than 100,000 of set photos, books, all the reference material and the posters. And this is where the restoration takes place of the films. That takes a lot of time. It's very specialized work, and here we can keep a little bit of nitrate to do nitrate restoration in like a special closet that is closed off. This is what the nitrate looks like. That's in the bunkers. Last year we had flooding. It was very dramatic, and my colleagues were we were all really confronted also with climate change, because the Netherlands, of course, a lot of the territory is under sea level, but the engineering is very good, the dikes are working, so there is, I think, still a kind of sense that, we can manage, no problem. But what also happens because of climate change is that the level of the groundwater is rising. So it was just flooding the bunkers, and they are not up to date. So this is actually also part of my mission, that I have to raise funds to build a new nitrate vault that will be salvaging this material for the future. These are the places where it is now. It's you can see it's not really proper conditions, I would say. And then I'm not even showing like the actual flooding. So some work to do there. This, I'm not sure how I'm doing in time, because this gives an idea of what is in these film cans, because you see always only the outside, like a hard disk. It's showing, this is a 2-minute clip showing like lots of different parts of films that are partially in our archive, partially are not, but all shot in Amsterdam. So we can take a little bit, maybe a minute or so.
In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who sings of the dreams that he brings from the wide open sea, on a hot muggy morn by the dawn's early light. In the port of Amsterdam, you can see sailors dance, barges bursting their pants, grinding women to porch. They've forgotten the tune that their whiskey voice croaked, splitting the night with the roar of their jokes. And they turn and they dance and they laugh and they lust, till the rancid sound of the accordion bursts. And then out of the night, with their pride and their pants, and the stuff that they do underneath the street lamps. In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who drinks, and he drinks and he drinks, and he drinks once again. He'll drink to the health of the whores of Amsterdam, who've given their bodies to 1,000 other men. Yeah, their bargain never do, their goodness all gone for a few dirty coins, when he just can't go on. Throws his nose through the sky instead of above, and he pisses like I cry on the unfaithful love. In the port of Amsterdam, in the port of Amsterdam.
we often describe the work we try to do at the Eye through a spatial metaphor as three spaces, three rooms of the same house. The past, the treasure room, the archive, where we keep all the beautiful things from the past and cherish them like treasures. Then the present, which we like to see as the living room, where the makers of the day, they show their films, they have their premieres, they come together for workshops, but also maybe have a coffee and talk about new plans and have Q&As, do children's workshops, meet with school classes. And then we have the future room, the birthing room, where is room for experiments, immersive cinema, AI experiments we can't deny that artificial intelligence is totally changing the way films are made. We have a film now with Tilda Swinton, not a film, an exhibition where she was the guest curator, and just as an example for what the future is going to bring to film, she can now only do major films as an actress in Hollywood if she agrees to a body scan, so they can finish the film if something would happen to her during production. Otherwise, it's no longer possible to get production insurance. So, yeah, it's really, we are, I think, on the threshold of a different time where this photorealistic generated scenes, not just photography, but also moving image, is going to totally change the economy and the industry of filmmaking, because it's of course so much cheaper. And now it's a body scan in case she's in the hospital or she has an accident. But then after all, I mean, if it's cheaper to just get the body scan and do the whole film like that, why not? You know, I mean, I think we have to engage in this kind of conversations. And you see in the Cannes Film Festival, for example, there is a lot of discussion, but it's always driven by industry. It's like the Microsoft breakfast every morning on the beach. It's all about makers who are very happy working with AI and different tools. But I think it's really touching on something fundamental. And of course, something similar is happening on the audience side, where every film is going to be different depending on who is watching it, where you can have data-driven endings, or change of characters, change of skin color, locations. I think this, what I said in the beginning about, for me, cinema being in essence about meeting and about togetherness, I'm not sure where this is going with AI, frankly. So I hope we can at least facilitate the dialogue about that. Here you see what kind of things we are doing and how we are trying to bridge this past, present, future idea about film, and to use our collection to do that. Also for children, 80,000 school children come to Eye in the year. They look into making films, how are films made, but also the material, the materiality of the film, and of especially celluloid. And they can make films by scratching on it and then actually stitching it together. And there is, you see, they really love doing that, like animation as well. There's a lot of craft involved, and we like to teach about that as well and to explain it. I would say that in conclusion, of course, inside the museum, also inside the museum staff, there is a separation between collection and presentation. I think this is probably existing in every museum, but they can only go together because, to have a collection that is not presented, that is not alive, it's not working, and to have a museum of film that doesn't have a connection to its history, I think it's also dead. So for me and for us, for our team, they are really inseparable. Like I said, the kitchen and the restaurant, the back end and the front end. And this network of things we do, of activities, of different teams, 160 people working at Eye, more or less. It's really our goal is to to get to know each other's specialties and to respect them and to create synergies between all these different teams and responsibilities. So this is, this a lot of the interactive things. I saw some of them here also at Istanbul Modern. It's so popular that I really think this is something we have to do more, because people are really demanding it. Not just young audiences, but everyone. They want to interact. Like this is installation where you can insert yourself into a clip from the collection. We also have this flipbookje. This was a TikTok hype. It brought in thousands and thousands of young people from all over the world. And what they did is it takes a 5-second video and they buy a ticket for the museum just to do that alone. So I think this is something we just have to be more inventive and more creative in how we can bring experiences that are meaningful, in this kind of forms. Because it's a good thing, I think, to embrace that people do want to interact with film heritage. This is just a lot of information. I can also show a clip. It's from the beginning of the museum building. You see it has a very little bit, I would say corporate, but also accelerated tone of voice. I think now we are a little bit in a different era, but I will show a little bit because it shows quite well what we are doing. So why do moving image museums matter today? I think we should always keep asking ourselves that question. Maybe I think they do matter more than ever. And how do we imagine a moving image museum in a digital age where there are maybe too many moving images already? I will give you briefly talk you to 3 examples based on 3 of our recent exhibitions that I think are in a way also attempts or experiments to try and do just that, to give meaning to the moving image in a museum context today. The first one is currently on view. It's been extended. It's doing very well because we are very lucky to have been working with Tilda Swinton in the past 3 years. She's a performer, and probably many of you know her. And she was asked by the previous director if she wanted to do something at the museum when she accepted the FIAF award. FIAF are the International Film Archives, and Tilda Swinton is a total film buff. She knows everything about the history of film, and that's why she received this film archiving award. And then she didn't want to do anything, but we started talking, and I think this also shows time is really important, to have time to develop projects through dialogue and through meeting repeatedly, to changing things, to throwing ideas in the garbage and trying to come up with something better. In the end, she got really excited and she made a wonderful exhibition that was for her about what is the core of filmmaking for her. She wanted to be the curator herself of this exhibition. She didn't want it to be about her, but she wanted it to be about what cinema is for her. And for her, the essence is collaboration and artistic friendship. So she asked 6 people that were most important in her development to make new work with her for this exhibition. And we were very happy, of course, to work with her and her artistic friends, like Pedro Almodóvar, Wes Anderson, really good friends. And she brought Nick Cave to the opening, so everyone was totally excited, but she really also went deep. Because, for example, the film program, together with our curator, she made a selection out of the 95 films she was performing in. We selected 42. For each one of those, she selected a short from our collection. So she spent hours, weeks, months, looking through hard disks with all the shorts from the collection that could possibly match with the films she made. And those were shown before the films in the cinema. This is the trailer of the exhibition.
Oh, here's a curious one.
Passion.
I would say that her project was part of what we call the third room, the birthing room, because this is where things are uncertain, experimental, and sometimes uncomfortable, where artists can experiment and work with AI, immersive media, collaborations that are risky, virtual reality, and new forms, and other things we don't have yet names for. She was very excited to have that freedom, and it was a huge project for us because it was the film program and the exhibition and all the commissioning of the new works and the producing of the new works. Then the projects for children, but also she wanted to have with each of the collaborators that are still alive. So Dirk Jarman was a main inspiration for her. He's not alive, he couldn't come, but all the others, they came and she had public conversations with them. So this was great for our audience. It was always sold out. The website crashed several times when these tickets were online. But she really went deep. So I think this was an exceptional project. And it helped that she was present, that she wanted to be there and come again and again. And she made time for everyone, for every request, for every question. And we are really grateful for that. We don't know what cinema will become. We also had this discussion with her, but we know it will not disappear because for 130 years now, the moving image has always adapted. It has always mutated and it will continue to do so. And the role of the museum is not to protect the past from the future, but to allow them to meet and to explore with an open mind and curiosity what happens when they do. And for her, the joy she brought, the friendships, the 5 new works, it was really exceptional. I don't think we can do that again very soon. So there was another project I will briefly show if there's still time. This is Tim Walker, the photographer that was part of the collaborations for Tilda. This is the Almodóvar film. This is the only work that's not a new work, but she wanted it at the end with the cinema setting. So then you can sort of phase into the cinema program. This is a new work with Abichapong, Weer is ik cool. A different exhibition about 3 years ago, but with Saudat Ismailova, which was also very successful. She's very young. and she brought in a lot of experience and knowledge about the films in her part of the world that we had no knowledge about. So it was really a knowledge-sharing project. And then she had been studying in Amsterdam for a while, and she brought in a lot of artists and filmmakers that came back repeatedly. And it was nice to work with them. Okay, let's see the clip.
Çölde uyandım. Unda hamma narsa yod etdi.
So I think this is a good example of another reason why moving images in museums matter, because I saw a beautiful exhibition here today as well, but because they are clearly always deliberately framed. Every moving image, whether made in 1895 or today, it's created through a lens, and a lens is never neutral. It has a point of view. That's also different with AI, of course. It chooses, it excludes, and it positions. It says, hey, look here now and look from this perspective. And in a world where images circulate without context or authorship and are generated photorealistically by AI, for example, out of nowhere through prompts, the cinematic image reminds us that every frame, every story is always told from somewhere by someone. And that implies a responsibility for that image. A maker of an image maker with a point of view. And when we watch a film, we are invited to see from someone else's point of view. And this shift of perspective is the foundation of empathy. This is what you refer to, I think, Jeff. And this is why I believe cinema has such powerful attraction today. Because in the cinema and inside the film museum, we recognize ourselves in strangers. And the Moving Image Museum trains us not to agree, but to see, not to confirm, but to open up and to expand our sense of the world. This is not passive consumption, it is active engagement, which inspires making. And then I think we're running out of time, maybe? Little bit. Okay, a few things that maybe I would like to say briefly about the museum as a public institution. I had some conversations here today with Istanbul Modern colleagues. I understood it's not a fully public institution, it's mixed. We are also moving more and more in that direction. But I must say that right now, and I hope it will remain that way, we are at Eye very generously subsidized by the Ministry of Culture. And this is, it's absolutely necessary. There is no business model for keeping a film archive. It's dream on, it doesn't exist. But we do need to keep the archive, like we need to keep paper archives and all the other archives. So what I think is important, that we realize this doesn't mean that the collection is owned or by the government. It's not theirs. It's owned by all of us, by all the taxpayers, by all the Dutch nationals, everyone in the territory, and we keep it for them. So we try in our communication to emphasize this more, that, you already have your Young Tuesdays, but I think in principle, a public museum should be free for everyone. Of course, we have moved away from that in the past 20 years at high speed. So it's not possible today, but we can come up with, I think, more moments or symbolic gestures where we make this more clear that this collection is not our collection. We are just the keepers of it. So it's not a luxury or a privilege. It's a communal property, and the word "collect" is also beautiful. I think it means to bring together. It's a shared inheritance to enjoy and to care for, and that's why I believe that in a perfect world, especially moving image museums in today's image culture, should always be open and free to enter for everyone. Like a church or a mosque. Not a place of doctrine, but a place of gathering and inclusion, and a place, of course, of enjoyment and encounters and reflection. For young people, the museum can be their first encounter with another tempo, with patience, attention, and depth. This is also, I think, an important aspect that we can offer in attractive ways. And I think it's good if the public museum also radiates in everything it does a sort of message like, this is yours, you are part of this story. This is why at least our openings are always free of charge. So at least there is one opportunity for everybody to see the exhibition and to join the party, let's say. And that's why they are, I think, one of the reasons why they are always very well attended, like 1,200 people or something like that. Then maybe to end, this is also an interface that we built in collaboration. I think all the good things Eye does have all come from collaborations. This was an academic collaboration about the sensory interface. It's an interface without text. So it's about visual recognition and interacting with the images from the collection in new ways. And then we have done a lot of collaborations that also show this perspective on the collection as something that we would like to actively share. So it's going beyond the building. We have the Eye Film Player. It's an online streaming platform. It was developed during COVID, but it's doing quite well. It's bilingual, English and Dutch. It has a lot of films that are generously provided by the filmmakers without rights. Half of the films on it are totally free of charge to view anywhere in the world. And you see that with a lot of the Dutch filmmakers in general, this is a global phenomenon. The films get a lot of marketing and attention when they come out, but just a few years later, they sort of disappear. And even though we think maybe everything is on Netflix, it's not. So I think this is a great way to make some artistic films available. Of course, we also use YouTube like everyone with its collaborations for showing the collection outside. And then, of course, also we get response, like our building is reclaimed, let's say, as a screen. And we were asked to join this protest, which we did this projection for 3 days. And it stirred a lot of debate. I think many museums are thinking about how to take position and on which issues. And it's something also that's part, I think, of our development and growing up as museums, that we have to, we need to talk to each other, I think, to share experiences on how to do this, when to do it, and when not to do it, and what to do after you take your statement. So then, to end, we had a wonderful collaboration with Nouri Bilge Ceylan. Maybe just a few sentences about that, because our curator proposed an idea to make an exhibition about the relationship between his still images, his photography, and his moving images in the films, the same landscapes, but in a different medium. But initially he was not very excited about this, and he said it didn't matter that much for him. But he did agree to cooperate on the exhibition, in the sense that we were allowed to recut his films, mainly based on the landscapes. It was called Inner Landscapes, this exhibition. to make this comparison, let's say, with photography. I think that was very generous of him to let us do that. I know how it feels when somebody starts to cut in your film. And then he did come in the end to the opening with his son, who's also a producer, and they were really, really happy. So we were also relieved. And there were a lot of people from the Turkish community in the Netherlands who heard about it. So they stood in line for like 3 hours to get signature and to meet with him. He was very, very generous with his time, and he enjoyed it, I think. And then we had a lot of interest from the influencers, and we were able to introduce Turkish language tours because we got so much demand, and then we had to add more tours in Turkish. It was great. So I show you the clip.
Çekiyorum.
Yeah, so these are just some installation views. And some people who came to the exhibition, they were filming the landscape. They recognized where they were. They called their family. They were FaceTiming. Say, hey, look, this is Grandma. This is your place here in Amsterdam. And that was also very beautiful, I think, to make this connection from across distance through image. So in summary, the Eye as a living archive, creative reuse is actively promoted by artists, by filmmakers, also by researchers, of course. We try to commission new works whenever we can, also to activate this, and to work with guest curators and festivals, and to enter into collaborations that can enrich us and that we can learn from. The next project will be 10 new works dealing with our colonial collection. It's a small collection. It's about 2,000 films. And when we did an artist in residency open call, we received 80 proposals, but 12 were about this specific small collection. So we thought we have to do something and try to make this happen so we can see through 10 new works, 10 different perspectives on this collection and to this painful part of our history. So that's opening end of March. I think I want to end with where I began, with bodies in space, inside and outside of the museum, trying to connect inside and outside. The Moving Image Museum is not just a building. For me, it's a promise, and a promise that in a digital age, we need welcoming places for encounter more than ever, that in a world of infinite images, we still need shared frames, that in times of division, we still need to sit together in the dark and watch a beam of light pass forward. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing this moment with me. And as a last handshake from the past for you today, I have one last film from our archive from 2026. And it's also very close by. It has no sound either. But it's really, I think, 50 meters away from here. It's exactly 100 years ago. Yeah, it's Pathé. And it's thanks to my colleague Elif Rongen-Kanatçı. Mig knows her, but she's from Turkey, and she knows this part of the collection very, very well. It was part of the Istanbul Silent Cinema Days in 2014. I hope we will resuscitate this initiative to have the Silent Cinema Days. This would be wonderful. And I hope we can continue that collaboration. Thank you.